Hey guys, it has been a hot minute since I took you out in my garden to look at everything. And part of that is because I have been very busy working on it, but also part of that is because we just spent the last week getting rain pretty much every single day, all day, which is kind of insane for this area. We really needed it. The garden really needed it, but it rained so much that it went past helpful, and there was definitely some flooding issues, not here, but definitely in the general area. So the garden has grown a lot. It has gotten a little out of control, and there's a bunch of new stuff in it since the last time you saw it. So let's go take a look. Oh my goodness, I was about to take a video of the garden and show you guys everything, but then I saw Draco playing with his own tail. At 13 years old, he still has a lot of playfulness in him. All right, anyways, so this is the main garden here. Some of it's in the shade of the tree, so it doesn't show up as well on camera. And then, of course, behind me is the massive pergola that I built with my dad. And we've got all the raised beds back there to look at too. All right, so this first row right here on the cattle panel, I have still my garlic right in the middle. And then I've got tomatoes on either side, as well as some basil and some lettuces that are going to seed. But look at this. I already have a bunch of baby tomatoes all over these plants. And the garlic is getting close to time to pull it. You usually want to wait until about half the leaves die back before you pull it. And this is getting really, really close. Also, right next to my tomato trellis, you can see right here, very exciting, my turmeric did come back even after the unusually cold temperatures we had and the ice storm. It came back. And this one right here with the purple streak up the middle of the leaf is a black turmeric. I originally got this from a viewer a couple years ago, and she's the one who recommended that I leave it in the ground over winter, which I did very tentatively the first year. And after it came back, I trusted it and did it with all of them. You can see another one coming back here. I'm pretty sure every single one has come back now. Farther up the row from the turmeric are my Egyptian walking onions. And these guys are looking so healthy. They are going crazy. They are about to start walking everywhere, because if you didn't know, Egyptian walking onions walk around because they get heavy on the top with these tiny little onions and they fall over and then they reroot. And that is how they walk all across your garden. So I'm going to have to stay on top of directing this and hopefully get it to fill out more along this line. And it is actually entirely surrounded by skullcap, which I did not fully research when I put it in the ground, and I didn't realize that it's in the mint family. You can see the square stem right there, and you can also see the fact that it is spreading like crazy. This is a medicinal herb, but I am actually kind of glad for it to take over, at least in a controllable way. It is more controllable than the Bermuda grass, and you can see these are the skullcap coming up everywhere. These are easy to pull out, and the Bermuda grass is not. So I would rather have this here spreading and choking out the Bermuda grass. And right next to it, which is also spread out a lot since I got it, is my sage. This plant is only a year old. I got it from a farmer's market last year, kind of late in the season, and it was like, I don't know, this big, like one or two of these sprigs. It was tiny, and it just absolutely exploded so quickly. Kata has decided to join us out in the garden as well. And she's very busy watching this little black and white cat cross the neighbor's lawn over there. Anyway, so back to the tomatoes. So these are the first ones that I saw set fruit. You can see they're just turning ever so slightly yellow, and I think they will actually be the first to ripen. But as always, tomatoes take longer than I expect to ripen, and so these, I'm sure, will be at least another few days, maybe another week. And then if we go down further in the row, you can see that my beans are actually starting to take off. These are my blue cocoa pole beans. They're actually purple, even though the name says blue. And I've grown them on the trellis with these tomatoes every single year for the past few years. And it always works out super well. And I do have to come through here and, pull my tomatoes up to the trellis. It's just been so hard to get out here with the rain. You can see also the rain splashing up on the leaves. Not that great for them. My bay leaf plant that I actually put in the ground this spring for the first time looks like it's doing really well. You can see all these lighter green leaves at the top are brand new. I'm pretty excited for it. I really do hope it survives the winter, but we will be taking a cutting preemptively just in case it does not survive. It's also already time to start cutting my basil. This one is going to flower. This is actually a new variety for me this year. It's called Spicy Globe Bush Basil. And so far it is living up to its name of being quite bushy. Yeah, I'll probably have to start cutting this and doing something with it. Look at all those tomatoes though. What variety are you? I actually left a tag on every single plant this year for myself. Amish paste. All right. So these are Amish paste tomatoes. They look so nice. The rain at this stage in the tomato development is actually kind of perfect. You don't want rain right as they are ripening. You want the rain as they're growing, because once it starts ripening, it stops growing, right? And so that skin gets really tight and not flexible anymore. And so if the plant takes up too much water and tries to put some of that water into the fruit, the skin will crack. And so if you can control the watering, you do want to stop watering as the fruits are ripening to prevent some of that cracking. Because I am dependent on the sky for a lot of my water. I don't have that choice, but it is just really convenient that the rain came while the tomatoes are growing, and hopefully it will start to peter off as they start ripening. Now down the other side of the trellis, I do have a whole nother row of tomatoes here. So they are alternating boop, 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 boop up this trellis here. And these last 6 plants on the end are much smaller because I intentionally planted them later. These are all long keeper tomatoes, and I have 2 different varieties of those. These ones are, I'll put them on the screen because I can't say it properly, but they are a very newly created type. This is not an heirloom at all, but I got it from this guy who developed it, and he was saying that these tomatoes can last at room temperature for up to 8 months. Just nothing, no preservation, just at room temperature. So I'm kind of excited to see how that goes. The regular long keeper variety that I have right here, this is an heirloom, and it is supposed to last quite a long time, but one of the things that makes the other ones special is that these ones, they will last at room temperature, but they will get kind of mealy as time goes on. And these other ones are supposed to not really do that. They're supposed to hold up a little bit better. All right, so I don't remember if this made it into the last garden tour or not, but I have fully cleared this row and planted peppers and eggplant and a few other really cool random stuff. This whole area right here is my northern pineapple. This is one of the really cool perennial seeds that I got in that shipment from Canada. This is a tomatillo relative. It is supposed to be, it'll get pretty tall, and it will make little husk covered berries that are supposed to be really sweet, like pineapple. Some people also call it giant Cape gooseberry. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these plants. I'm super excited about them. I cannot wait to try them. I can't wait to see if they survive the winter. Out of all of the perennials that I got in that shipment, these ones are the most cold sensitive. So I might end up covering this back end of the row over the winter to give them a better chance. But y'all know me, I can get kind of lazy about that sort of thing. So we will see. Maybe I'll cover some of them and not all of them so that I can see whether or not they actually do survive on their own. Although that will also be kind of year dependent because sometimes it does get much colder, as we saw last year. All right, and this big fluffy thing right here, this is the number one thing that people ask about when they're on my porch steps and they're looking out the garden. They're like, what is this brown fluffy thing here? This is bronze fennel. You can see some of that bronze color in the newer leaves. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a perennial fennel that is mostly for the leaves and the seeds. It's not really making a harvestable bulb for me. Although I'm sure I could maybe take, like you see it splitting into a bunch of stalks. I could probably take a stalk and try and do something with that. I actually have never cooked with fennel before. Well, not the bulbs at least. I do cook with fennel seeds quite a lot, so I think it'll be really nice to have a supply here. And it's a gorgeous plant. It is definitely delicious smelling every time I walk by as well. All right, so let's walk down this row and talk about what I've done here. So I've got eggplant on this side. I know there's a ton of weeds here still. I tried so hard to get a bunch of them out, but we've got eggplant, 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 and they are alternating for a lot of the row up there. And then on this other kind of half of the row, I have hot peppers here. I have some fish peppers. I have some buena mulata. These are always the first to put on fruit. And I've got a natural experiment with these guys. I had 4 buena mulata plants and they were getting really tall. So I said, okay, 2 of you, I'm gonna leave you as is. So that's like this. And 2 of you I'm gonna top just to see. So this one you can see has been topped and is bushing out, and it's already trying to make more fruit on those branches that have bushed out. But I think this one is a little bit ahead, and we'll try to keep track of, at least kind of, vaguely, casually try to keep track of whether or not these ones that were not topped get bigger and bushier and produce more fruit than these ones that were topped. I suspect it won't make that much of a difference, but we'll see. As we continue coming farther down the row, you can see I've still got a couple of garlic in here. Oh, and I did have onions in this row, if you guys remember. I have already pulled all of those out. I took a little video of what they looked like before I pulled them out. They were really small, and they had already flopped because of weather and probably the really, really dry spell that we had. I think just kind of did those onions in. So once they flop, they're not going to grow anymore. And so since they were all flopped, I went ahead and pulled them out of my way. Look at this adorable boy. Draco is the sweet one. He is the baby. Even though he's 13, he still is a baby. And if you ever hear him cry, he sounds like a baby too. All right, so this area at the front is all my sweet peppers. I did not get as many as I wanted this year. I started a ton of seeds and had a ton of them just not come up. And I don't really know why. I think probably they were all from the same company, and I don't want to go straight to blaming the company, so I'm not going to name them here, because it's just as likely that that seed packet got stuck in my mailbox and then got like super hot or something like that, or who knows the shipping process. But I only got a couple of those seeds to sprout. I do have a lot of sweet peppers in here. I'm hoping to have quite a few. I'm always hoping for a lot of sweet peppers, and every year I get kind of disappointed, but these are almost all good varieties that I know for sure will produce. So this year it's looking mostly promising. One of my plant sale purchases this year, because I can never really go a year without buying something from a plant sale. This is a Spanish lavender, and I have a different lavender that I lost the tag to back in the corner, and we'll look at that. But it is really, really pretty. Okay, before we go back and do those other 2 rows, some of the stuff here at the front I could talk about. So this right here is a pumpkin sprout. I've actually really, really struggled to keep these sprouts alive. I don't know if it's because my cat loves to sit in these black bags, but I've just had to replant like a few different times, and because of the rain, I think these have finally come up, and there's been like not that much out here to bother them. But this is a variety called Magic Cushaw, and it is supposed to be incredibly disease resistant, pest resistant, and I'm hoping that that will help me in my area, because I've struggled with squash bugs so badly. So we'll see if these actually produce anything for me, but I'm pretty hopeful at the moment. Now behind it, these are a lot of my other perennials from that same batch from Canada. This is pink skirret. I have Korean celery, silver vineweed, and this is spinach vine. This is not Malabar spinach, which I've been asked before, which is a valid question because that's often called spinach vine. This is entirely different. I can put the Latin name up there for you. But it looks like it's getting kind of unhappy with all of this water, so I should probably get that transplanted out pretty soon. These two are pawpaws that I have been waiting on to sprout. This one is sprouting, but it's really stuck in its seed shell. So I'm not super hopeful that that will actually become a plant. This one, you can see the seed shell starting to poke up, and either the dirt is eroding around it or it is ever so slightly starting to push up. These take forever to come up. And you can see the one over here that has actually successfully come up is just a little baby. It also got a little bit stuck in the seed shell, and I tried to help it out a little bit. It doesn't seem to have helped a ton, but it did get out and it has leaves. So that's promising. We'll have to see how that goes. Over here is my echinacea, which is just about to flower. It's gonna be so pretty. I'm so excited. This flower down here has just started to open up as well. Oh, love an echinacea, and it's right next to some beautiful turmeric leaves. I've got some regular and some black turmeric here. These leaves are always so pretty. And then this trellis right here is my beans. I've got some red velvet beans, and I've also got my noodle beans. So the red velvet is on the inside and the noodle beans are on the outside. And if we take a look, the noodle beans are not looking great. Like, a lot of their leaves came in and were looking like this, which is not great. Some of the leaves that came out since the rain have been looking a little bit better, but you can see these guys look pretty battered. They are not as healthy as my red velvet beans here, but maybe they will be able to recover. I mean, look at that down there. That's not great. All this rain has not been ideal for them, apparently. So this is a lot of plants to have on one trellis. I'm gonna see if I can get away with it. Originally, I had planted a ton of extra because usually a lot of my seedlings get eaten down by, you know, whatever little insects or slugs or whatever that are in the area. And so I planted so many more than I would need. And for some reason, they were not eaten this year. So they will grow up the trellis and we will see if they crowd each other out. I am always reluctant to kill ones that are doing really well. So I guess we'll have to follow along and see if that ends up being a mistake. The good news is it's not that serious. I have the room to experiment and learn, and I do suggest that you do the same. Push the limits, see what happens, understand why some rules are the way they are, maybe understand that some rules don't make sense anymore because of your experimentation. Seeing it with your own eyes is just really valuable education for you as a gardener. All right, my second trellis here, you can see my perennial cucamelon thing came back with a vengeance. I still don't know if it came back from seeds or if it came back from roots, but it sure came back everywhere. And I suspect that this will be like a weed in my garden for years to come. I haven't seen any fruit on it yet, but it is taking off up the trellis beautifully on this side. And on this side, I pulled out the little bit that was coming back here, and I'm trying to grow some tromboncino squash up this side. I have two really close together, which is annoying because I'd planted this whole side, and I even replanted this side, and whatever's been eating seedlings has come back for those because I never saw anything come up, even with all this rain. But yeah, I've got two. It would be nice if they were spaced out, but you know, we work with what we've got. These are also supposed to be very disease resistant, very productive little squashes. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, and then this area back here, this took me a crazy amount of time to clear of all the weeds. And what I ended up doing, because it was so bad, is I cleared as much as I could, and then I put down cardboard and compost, and then planted into the compost on the top. This actually took all of the compost that I made last year. I don't make a ton, which is really unfortunate because I would love to be making all my own. But in this area, I have that back section that's extra green, that is sorghum, and then I have a ton of popcorn in through here. And then the last two rows, which I have not seen sprout yet, it's the only thing that hasn't come up, is a Cherokee bead corn. Some people call it Job's Tears. It is not for eating, it is just for making jewelry. because the corns are like this big and they already come with kind of a hole in the middle. I think that'll just be really, really cool to see and appreciate. And then in between everything, I have these southern beans. They seem to have sprouted really well. You can now see that I could not tell where I was planting them in between all of the corn. I've got like a little clump here, a little clump here. You know, we did our best. And hopefully they will grow really nicely together and the vines will climb up the corn like they did last year. I'm really excited about this popcorn. This is a Pennsylvania butter flavored popcorn. It was my favorite popcorn last year. And so I'm kind of going all in on it this year. All right, so we're gonna take a quick look at the final row and then we'll be moving over to the exciting stuff happening on the pergola. I have more walking onions in this area. They're not quite as dense as the ones over on the other side of the garden, but I think they will be. They look very strong and they are both in the spaces they are to beat back some of the grass. So I'm hoping to get this corner very densely populated with walking onions. There's also this blueberry in here, which did not make any fruit for me this year, and that is okay. I don't need to have the fruit. This is a rescued plant anyway, so the fact that it is alive and looking as good as it is actually pretty good because I almost killed it by not watering it after rescuing it from being on the brink of death. So alive is good for that one. You can also see the garlic in here is dying back and it's probably about time to pull some of it. If you have a fair bit of garlic around, I do recommend pulling some of it just as you go. Well, let me get in here. I recommend pulling some of it. Oh no, sometimes that happens. We'll have to go back and dig that up. But yeah, you should definitely pull some of it as you go to check on, oh, this one's gonna come up, yeah. Check on how it is doing and see if you should pull all of it. And this one, you can see how the cloves are pretty well defined. That to me means that this is ready to come up. So because it is a little dry today, I will probably come through and get at least all the garlic on this side of the garden. All right, so past here, I don't really have all that much until we get down there. But something interesting I wanted to show you is I haven't weeded this area at all. You can see there's still some weeds in here, but just a couple weeks ago, it was like fully green, overgrown with weeds. And I just want to highlight that weeds go through cycles. And so they do naturally die back over the seasons. And so if you look close, you can see this matted stuff down here. This is that cleaver. I recently made a video on Weeds with Worth about that. And it fully died back on its own and matted down and now is a good mulch on top of the soil while I'm waiting to figure out what I'm going to do with this area. I don't actually have a good plan at the moment. This area is still a little bit more shady than I would have liked, especially with the way that we cut back that tree this spring. So I'm kind of switching up what I'm going to put here, what I think will tolerate the shade, and I just haven't made final decisions about that yet. Down here on the end though, I have more of my interesting perennials. So these are a perennial leek down in here. I have perennial kale, and I also have a perennial sweet lettuce right here. So my perennial leeks, they're looking good. The perennial sweet lettuce looks like it's filling out quite nicely. It is going to seed. Theoretically, it should still be edible when it goes to seed. We'll have to see. Oh, and then this is salad burnet back here, which is a slightly more common perennial that is for salad eating. The kales, I think, are looking quite nice. And then, of course, we have some more turmeric here. And at the very end, next to my logs, is a new patch of strawberries that I put in this year. And they are actually already trying to make strawberries, which is really unusual for new plantings of bare root strawberries. I think they might end up being a little small, but I mean, still, that's pretty neat. Okay, so let's talk about the grapevine that is all over this pergola. If you come in here close and see, the grapes are starting to look like actual grapes. It's kind of crazy. And then you look at this, and then you look under here. I mean, look at how many grapes there are. Isn't that just insane? And that's just this arch. I mean, they're everywhere, all over this pergola. I'm gonna need a ladder to harvest them. There's gonna be so many. Now, unfortunately, the hardy kiwi that is also here has not flowered at all this year. So we're holding our breath for next year on this, but the plant looks super healthy. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Sometimes I've heard it takes up to 5 years for these to go ahead and flower, it's hard to wait, but I think it'll be worth it. Okay, so let's talk about the raised beds a bit. This one is, rather uninteresting in my opinion. The sage always looks incredible. I have my same oregano. Oh, I almost forgot. This is interesting. I have this beautiful variegated sage that I picked up at a plant sale. I don't need more sage. I don't eat that much, but it's so pretty with the purple on it. I just couldn't not get it. This thyme right here is fully taken over. I still haven't cut it back the way that I would like to, because it's just so low on the list of things that has to get done this time of year. This bed has my asparagus and a lot of my strawberries. I also put a valerian in here that is from a plant sale as well. And the strawberries are definitely not as prolific right now as they were, although it looks like a second flush is coming on. Look at that little mangled one in there. Definitely they are in their runner stage. They are expanding. And this is the perfect time to be pulling leaves. If you're gonna do strawberry leaf tea, you do kind of have to mildly ferment them to get a good flavor out of the tea. But they are really good if you do that. My tiered raised bed is looking really nice and fluffy. I've got my garlic chive in here. I was really hoping that my calendula would reseed itself down here. I intentionally took a lot of the seed heads and put them in here, and they have not come back. So that's a little disappointing. I've got more thyme in here. This is younger, so it hasn't had a chance to die back as much. But I always find it so interesting. You can see originally it was a variegated thyme, and then everything that's grown in since then has not been variegated. Still very pretty though. These are my onion chives. They exist, but they're just not as nice and prolific as my garlic chives. So in this area, if you have a choice, I do recommend the garlic chive. Up here, I have some potatoes. I originally was gonna have this be carrots, but the carrots didn't do super well. So I needed a place to stuff some potatoes that were sprouting, and this was just a really good spot. So we'll have a few potatoes coming from there. The Greek oregano is trying to escape as usual. It has started to go to flower, and it is going to escape. I can tell. It has been coming up in this upper tier of the raised bed, coming all the way up through there. So if you want a really prolific ground cover that smells really good that you can eat, Greek oregano will be that ground cover for you. And down here amongst all the weeds, I have my mountain multiplier onion. This is it's a multiplier onion, which means that it's a perennial onion and it will multiply into bunches every year. You can see maybe a little bit how the bulb has split here. And I'm experimenting with a ton of different perennial onions right now. And this is just one of the varieties, but it's looking pretty good. It was very tiny for a long time, and now I finally feel like I have some strong onions. This terracotta colored raised bed is full of sweet potatoes, and you can see the vines are coming up really quickly now. I mean, it's already at the point where it might start trying to escape. I also threw a couple extra regular potatoes in here because I dug them out of the main garden when I was weeding, and I was like, oh, I can't just let these go to waste, so I just threw them in here. This is going to be a lot of sweet potatoes. I do need to get better about eating sweet potatoes and also about eating the leaves, because the leaves are great summer green. I mostly last year cut them up and put them in stir fry, which was really good actually. But yeah, these are about to go crazy. And you know what has already gone crazy is the sunchokes. These guys are growing insanely fast right now. And the ones that are along the outside, I do have to keep mowing them down, and I have to mow them down pretty regularly because they grow back so fast. Also in here I have American ground nuts, and I also have evening primrose, which also has an edible tuber. So I'm like kind of excited to see how all of this goes. I did the sunchokes last year. I know what to expect, but I don't know what to expect from the American groundnut, which is this little vine right here, climbing up everything. And I also don't know what to expect from the primrose, but we will all find out together. I feel like half of what I'm saying today is, I don't know, but we'll find out. That's kind of how I do gardening, is I like to experiment, I like to try new things, and then I like to see what happens. These two new raised beds back here, I still have not finished filling. It is a lot of work to source enough half-rotted logs to kind of fill this space out so I don't have to buy that much dirt. But we're getting there. I got some from my neighbors. I might be able to get a little bit more. And in the meantime, we've got all of this to look at. So this right here is the St. John's wort, which is also a fantastic ground cover. I think it's really pretty, and you can see it just kind of escapes, and it's escaped into the lawn as well. It was very easy to mow over, and it's not going to bother the lawn at all. In fact, I would love for it to bother the lawn and get rid of all of this Bermuda grass. This is a new blueberry I planted, I think in the fall. It is a pink lemonade blueberry. So that one will probably flower next year. And I actually have gotten a few blueberries off of this plant. They're all gone now, but I got a couple. This one, these are getting a little bit bigger. They're not as like insanely teeny tiny as they were, but they're still pretty small. And I haven't really seen these start to ripen yet. They came on earlier than the other ones, but they are taking the longest to ripen. And then this one is ripening. You can see some of these pretty berries here. Ooh, here's a couple that are ready. They've been really delicious, but none of them make it inside because, oh, there's another one. Because there's so few, I just eat them all right here on the spot. I was just looking around, and this one that I thought hadn't started ripening yet, this really big one, started ripening. So that's our very first one, and you can see one next to it. Let's see how this one compares. Okay, so I just ate the handful of the other ones I picked off camera. And those ones have like almost a minty aftertaste, and this one is a lot more like sweet and berry-y. These strawberries down here, similar to the other ones, are kind of slowing down. These ones are June bearing, and I think the other ones might be ever bearing. I don't quite remember. Oh, there's one that is a little too overripe. But yeah, these ones do all of their strawberries all in one go, and then they are done for the year. So that is expected. It is already blackberry season as well. These guys have been a little early, but I mean, they're everywhere. Look at that. I've been told that they're a little bit sweeter than traditional blackberries. I still don't like them very much though. The seeds are just too much of a texture issue for me. So I've been giving away a lot of these, and I do tend to make them mostly into jam. Below the blackberries over here, I have a couple of rhubarb plants. You'll notice that they are on the side opposite the sun. So the sun goes kind of sets over that way, and they will be shaded by the berry bushes, which is the point because they don't really like the heat. Right now it's morning, so they are getting morning sun. But they have done so well for me. I have a couple of rhubarb recipes now that I'm dying to try. Got to make a traditional strawberry rhubarb pie for my dad. And I found a creator who makes strawberry rhubarb cookies. They look absolutely amazing. I'll try and link them below, but I haven't tried them yet. But they look like they're going to be incredible. And the raspberries are actually in full swing right now. I had to come out in the middle of the rain to harvest them, otherwise I would have lost a bunch of them. But if you look in here, you can see there's just a ton everywhere you look. Let's look under here. Whoop. Yeah, there's some there. There's some under there. There's so many. I'm picking like half a gallon every 3 days from these plants. It's a lot. Okay, so I almost skipped this raised bed. I'm glad I remembered. This, like I've been saying, was supposed to be all garlic. and the vast majority of it never came up. And so in here, I've been trying to get amaranth to come up. This is the like only plant that actually came up and looks good. I have planted so much in here and I don't really know why. Like it'll come up, it'll be little babies like this, and then I never really see them again. So I started some seeds in a little tray, and I'm gonna transplant out a few more, but in here we do have also a lot more of those southern peas, southern beans. They're not very healthy. You can see the leaves look a little mangled, and that is because of all the aphids that are all over them. And I remember that this bed was one of the ones that got the bad soil a couple years ago. And beans are always a good indicator of how the soil is actually doing, because they're kind of sensitive to the aminopyralids that can sometimes persist through compost. And yeah, these guys are showing me that the soil is not quite remediated yet. We'll see if they survive, but they look like they're probably going to die because they're really unhealthy. They're really struggling. And you'll notice I'm not saying, oh, the aphids are killing the plants. Like, kind of technically on a surface level, that is what's happening. But these plants are not fending off the aphids because they are unhealthy. It's like when you have a depressed immune system and you get sick more often, the plants are they were already struggling, and the aphids being all over them is a symptom of that and not necessarily the cause. Look at these cats following me around the garden. Everywhere I go, they find their favorite little shady spot and they'll sit and relax for a minute, and then I move and they move. They just love being outside with me. Okay, so let's take a look at this perennial fruit tree area. My pineapple guava is putting on some beautiful new leaves, but is showing no signs of flowering this year. I have heard it can take a little while. I got a fairly big plant to start, but it would have been incredible if it had fruited in its second year. So we will wait till the third year and see if we get some fruit off of this. The dwarf pomegranate that I was saying I was so worried was dead is actually coming back from the roots, which is not ideal, but it is still alive, which is really, really exciting. I'm really glad that it's not dead. My fig trees are doing really good. This one came back fully from the roots, and it is growing so fast you can barely tell that it had to come all the way back from the roots. I haven't seen any fruit forming on this one yet, but this one, which is my LSU purple, does have some little fruits on it. You can see them right in there. There's another one right there. So this one is the one that fruited last year as well, and it's looking super healthy. So excited about the figs. And if y'all remember, I got 2 new pomegranates when I thought that other one was dead. And these ones are not even dwarf. They're gonna be huge. Because I just planted them, I don't expect any fruit from them this year. Maybe we'll see something next year. And we also get to look at the citrus. So this is finally looking a lot better. I think the rain actually did do it quite a bit of good. It's coming back. And my kumquat over here, it's growing a little bit more slowly, but the leaves it's putting on are just like absolutely perfect. Like it could not look any healthier in my opinion. Okay, and over here in the shade, away from everything else, is where my elderberry and a couple new raspberries are. So over here is one of my new raspberries. It is actually putting on fruit, which I would not have expected for such a new raspberry, but here it is. We'll get to try a little bit of that. My other new raspberry is, I don't think that's gonna be fruit. It would be kind of wild to see fruit from this so soon, but in the fall probably. And my elderberry is flowering. I really thought it wasn't gonna flower this year, but it surprised me. It was a little late, and I think that that's because it's in the shade. Unfortunately, I don't see it setting just like a ton of fruit, or really any fruit. It's hard to say from that. Like maybe those little balls are fruit. There's only a couple of them on there. Hard to know. This one definitely looks like probably not got fruit on it. And I don't know why that would be, but once again, we have to kind of wait and see and then make some evaluations based on what we see. So if you are watching this and are feeling inspired to start your own garden or maybe revamp the current garden that you have, I actually have a free course right here on YouTube that teaches you how to plant a garden. It goes all the way from beginner stuff through some very advanced stuff. And I think no matter where you're at, you're gonna get some really good insights from this, because if you're a beginner, it's gonna start you out in the right track from the very beginning. And if you are advanced, it will maybe fill in some of those gaps that you left as a beginner, because I know I did not do all of this from the beginning, and I really, really wish that I had started and done all of this from the very beginning. I think I would be even better set up than I am now. So all of that, again, it's free. It's here on YouTube, so go check it out below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy gardening.